What are the simple things you can do to manage your pension more effectively? Today, I spoke with Laura Steele from Nest Pensions on how to do exactly that. I really want to know what are some kind of low effort things I could do to understand my pension a little bit better.
One of the first and probably the easiest things you can do is just to Google the name of your pension provider. Go to your pension provider's website, have a look around. If you're a Nest member, for example, and you haven't logged in before, it's really easy. That's probably one of the most important things that you can do. Mm-hmm. Things like nominating a beneficiary, which sounds like slight pension jargon, I know, but what it means is just making sure that if anything happens to you, and nobody wants to think about it, of course, but if you were to die before you could take your pension, that money is going to the person that you want it to go to, or people that you want it to go to, or charity that you want it to go to, or a combination of any of those. Another thing that is really important for a lot of people is to have a look and see if you can track down any lost pots. Now, maybe a little bit more effort required, but if you've had several jobs over the course of your working life, it could be that you've actually got a pension pot that you might have forgotten about. So you might actually have some money that you didn't even realize you had. Mm-hmm. So a really good place to start with that is looking at the Money Helper website. They've got some information about how you can do that.
Do you think there's anything within those things, like maybe details about myself, like do pension providers hold on to information about me? And should I be tracking those individually as well?
It's really important to make sure that your pension provider has got your most up-to-date details. If you're enrolled in a workplace pension, sometimes your employer might use your work email address. So it's a good idea to check and perhaps update it with your personal email so that your provider can get in touch with you. Mm-hmm. It's also really important to make sure that your name is spelled correctly and that they've got all your details up to date, because that can impact how your pension provider can get in touch with you.
Mm-hmm. And is that as simple as kind of logging into my pension provider and keeping those details up to date?
Yeah, it really is. So you can just go to the Nest website, nestpensions.org.uk, and on the top right hand side there's like a sign up button. You can click on that and you can activate your account there. You do need a few details. You need your Nest ID, we call it. You will have received that in your welcome pack from your employer, and you'll need that alongside your national insurance number and your date of birth.
I feel like when you go through the peaks and troughs of life, you're probably going from job to job, mm-hmm. you're taking breaks from work, mm-hmm. and you're potentially getting pensions with different pension providers, right? Multiple. And you did mention earlier that there's a way to find those, not only find those and maybe pull them together. So can you talk to me a little bit more about that?
Over the course of your working life, you could actually end up with 3, 4, 5 pension pots. So to start with, if you have a look at tracking down those lost pots, you can have a look at the Money Helper website. They've got lots of information about how you can do that. And then once you've located those pots, like I said, with doing a bit of research, you can research all those pension providers. You can see how much money you've got in each of those pots. You can see which ones you like. Another thing that is worth looking at is all pension providers will charge a fee for their services. I think sometimes people don't really realise or understand that a small part of your investment is taken as fees by the provider. And those do vary. So it's worth comparing the fees that the providers charge.
And I wanted to understand the fees a little bit more, and like how much should I actually consider those when I'm thinking about where my pension is and potentially how to make decisions as to where I'll keep my pension maybe for the rest of my life. How do fees impact me?
So the impact of fees can vary, and it can be, if you've got a few smaller pots, the fees can impact those smaller pots more. It can be difficult to compare sometimes because providers use basis points, and it's all like that kind of investment jargon again that sort of people don't fully understand. Mm-hmm. Hopefully on your pension providers' websites, they should explain their charging structure and explain how they take the charges, but they'll generally express the charges as a percentage of your investment, like 0.5% or something like that. So you should be able to sort of compare like for like with pension providers. You might find that one of the pension providers has slightly higher charges, but actually you really like the way they invest, so it might not necessarily be the one that charges the lowest fees is actually the one you want to go for. So there's other things you might want to think about and consider. So like I say, what are you actually getting for that fee? What value for money is your pension provider offering? Mm-hmm. I think is really important to consider rather than just necessarily the charge.
Do you think there's a routine that someone like me could take away and implement into managing my pension a bit more effectively?
It will look different for everybody. And the good news is that it doesn't have to be onerous. We're not suggesting that you need to check your pension every week or so. So potentially set a reminder in your phone, like for every 6 months, to see how much you saved. A lot of pension providers now offer apps as well, so you can check your pension details on the go. So you can just do it on your phone. It's really easy. Only probably needs to take a few minutes if you're all logged in already. Other things that you can think about is you can check your pension around sort of major life events. So things like birthdays, or when you change jobs, or perhaps when you take on a new mortgage. Those kinds of things are quite often good prompts to think about checking your pension.
Okay, so when it comes to increasing or decreasing my contributions, how should I make sure the right people know that I've made changes?
So it's a good idea to have a chat to your employer if you want to increase your contributions, because you might find that as you increase your contributions, your employer also increases their contributions too, which means more money going into your pot. If you are saving at the minimum rate, that's what you need to do at the moment, that's absolutely fine. So there's no pressure to increase them. But if you are in a position to perhaps increase them, it's something that you can do. Also on Nest, you can make additional contributions directly in the system as well. You can make a single payment, or you can make regular payments as well. But I think it is a good idea to have a chat with your employer to see if they will increase their contributions in line with your contributions too.
If I were to log in and see my pot sitting at like 15, 20K, what does that actually mean? Like, what does that mean for my retirement? And is that enough for me? How do I kind of figure that out?
Having a look at that pot of money and then trying to work out what that's going to look like in retirement can be really hard. But the good news is that there is a way you can do it that's really pretty straightforward. So many providers like Nest will offer a retirement calculator. So you need a few details like how much you contribute, how much your employer contributes, when you intend to retire, and it will calculate how much your pot will be or should be worth when you come to retire. It will take into account the investment growth over that time horizon as well. And then you can see how much money will be in your pot. It should also tell you what that might look like as an annual income as well. So it can give you a better idea of, okay, if I earn this much now, and then in my retirement, this could potentially be the sort of annual amount of money that I could receive. And it doesn't have to be difficult. You don't have to suddenly think, oh my goodness, I've got to invest hundreds of pounds a month or anything like that. A really small amount can make a huge amount of difference.
I really like the fact that you've mentioned that when you do take action on your pension, it's not a case of, okay, take action and increase those contributions. If you just check what kind of future you're preparing for, you can just align those contributions to it. So it doesn't actually have to mean, oh, go in and increase everything right now.
Exactly. And it might be in your current situation that you are saving as much as you can save. And that's okay. It's better to be saving than not to be saving. But you might just be aware again in the future when perhaps your circumstances change that at that point, perhaps you want to save a little bit more. And I think the message is for people that it's never too late to start saving, start increasing your contributions as and when you can afford to. It will make a difference.
Amazing. That's really encouraging to hear. If you like this video, subscribe for more.